He walked into that old thrift store, looking for nothing more than memories, but what he found changed everything. I remember the first time I saw him, he wasn't like most customers. There was something about him, something quiet and heavy, like he was carrying the weight of 1,000 stories no one had ever asked to hear. His hands were worn, his clothes simple, and his eyes, those eyes told me he had seen more than most people ever would. He was an older man, maybe in his late 70s, with a face marked by time and experience. Not just age, but life itself. You could see it in the way he moved, slow but deliberate, like every step had a purpose, even if that purpose was buried deep down under layers of sadness. He wasn't just wandering around, no, he was searching. I couldn't help but wonder, what was he looking for? What memory or moment had pulled him here, to this little thrift store filled with forgotten things? Maybe he wanted to touch something from his past, something that could remind him of who he once was. Or maybe he was hoping to find a piece of someone he lost long ago. There was a quiet dignity about him, but also a sadness I could almost feel pressing down the air around him. It was like he was trying to find something that might heal a part of his soul. I watched as he moved through the aisles, barely speaking, but holding on to each object as if it whispered stories he needed to hear again. I didn't know it then, but his visit that day was the beginning of a journey, one that would uncover secrets, bring unexpected hope, and change the course of his life in ways neither of us could have imagined. The thrift store smelled like old paper and dust, like forgotten stories waiting patiently to be found again. Every corner held something left behind by someone else's life. The shelves creaked under the weight of years, filled with things that once meant something but now waited quietly, hoping to be noticed one more time. There was a stillness in the air, as if the place itself was holding its breath, waiting for a story to be told. He moved slowly through this quiet maze. I could tell he wasn't here for the usual bargains or forgotten treasures. No, he was chasing something much deeper, a memory, a fragment of the past he thought he had lost. He was a veteran, and you could feel that in the way he carried himself. Not just a man who fought battles on distant fields, but one who carried the invisible wounds that never heal fully. He spoke softly, barely above a whisper, about a friend he lost, a brother in arms who meant the world to him. The friend's name slipped from his lips like a prayer, fragile and full of pain. They had shared more than just war. They had shared dreams, hopes for the future that were shattered by the violence they survived but couldn't escape in their minds. The veteran told me about a small item he'd lost, a worn leather journal his friend had kept during the war. It was more than just a book, it was a lifeline, a record of moments when hope still flickered. He hoped to find it again, or at least find something that could bring back those memories and make the past feel a little less heavy. I've met a few veterans in my time, and the stories they carry go beyond what words can say. They carry ghosts of battles fought inside, moments of loss that never leave them. The weight of those memories presses down like an unseen chain. It's hard to see from the outside, but it's there, shaping who they are long after the fighting ends. As he moved through the thrift store, I felt the quiet tension between loss and hope, how sometimes, holding on to a small piece of the past can help carry the soul through the hardest days. He wasn't just searching for an object, he was searching for a way to heal. And maybe, just maybe, he was about to find it where he least expected. He moved slowly down the narrow aisles, his fingers brushing over objects that whispered echoes of the past. A faded book caught his attention, its spine cracked and worn. He pulled it gently from the shelf, blowing away a layer of dust. "I used to read to my boy when he was little," he said softly, eyes distant. "Funny how something so simple can bring you back." For a moment I saw a flicker of warmth in his eyes, quickly replaced by a shadow of sadness. Next he found a faded military hat, its colors dulled by time. He held it up, turning it over in his hands. "This reminds me of the day we got orders," he murmured, the whole unit packed up, not knowing if we'd ever see home again. His voice cracked just a little. I could almost see him there in a dusty field, under a blazing sun, with brothers who were more like family. He came across a small tin box, rusted but intact. Inside were old medals and badges. He picked one up, a silver star, and traced its edge with his thumb. "This belonged to Tom," he said quietly. "He was the bravest of us all. Never talked much, but he saved my life once." His fingers trembled just slightly, betraying the calm he tried to hold on to. As he moved from shelf to shelf, I sensed his emotions shifting, hope stirring with every find, but sadness always lurking just beneath. It was like watching a man walking a thin line between pain and comfort, between remembering and forgetting. But the store itself seemed to resist his search. The aisles were tight and cluttered, boxes teetered on the edge of shelves, and some shelves groaned under the weight of too many forgotten things. He paused now and then, catching his breath, rubbing his knees as if the years had suddenly caught up with him. I saw the exhaustion settling into his bones, but he kept going. Just then, a soft voice broke the quiet. A woman, the store clerk, appeared from behind a curtain. She had a gentle smile, but her eyes held a certain mystery, like she knew more than she let on. "You're looking for something special, aren't you?" she asked, her tone almost knowing. He nodded slowly, unsure if he should trust a stranger. "Well," she said, "there's a back room. Not many people get to see it. It holds things that don't often come out here. Maybe what you're searching for is back there." He hesitated. The back room sounded like a place full of secrets. A part of the store meant to hide the past, or protect it. But after a long pause, he looked up at her and said quietly, "Could I see it, please?" Her smile grew warmer. "Follow me," she said, as she led him through the narrow aisles toward the back. I felt a shift in the air, like something important was about to happen. The man who had come in looking for memories was about to step into a place where the past and present would collide in ways neither of us expected. The door to the back room creaked open, revealing a space unlike the rest of the thrift store. It was darker here, cooler, filled with the quiet hum of forgotten history. Dust particles floated gently in the shafts of light that filtered through a small window high on the wall. This was a place few visitors ever saw: rows of old military boxes stacked neatly, weathered photos in faded frames, yellowed letters tied with brittle ribbons, and relics that whispered stories louder than words ever could. The veteran stepped inside cautiously, his eyes wide but steady. Something about this room pulled at him, like it was waiting for him to arrive. He moved slowly between the boxes, running his fingers along their rough surfaces, as if hoping to feel a connection, to touch the past that had been just out of reach for so long. His heart began to race when he spotted a box, worn but familiar, sitting almost hidden beneath a pile of old uniforms. The faded symbol on its side caught his eye immediately, a small insignia he recognized from his time in service. His breath caught, and his hands trembled as he carefully pulled the box out and set it on a dusty table. He hesitated for a moment, almost afraid of what he might find inside. Then, with a shaky hand, he lifted the lid. Inside were letters, photographs, and small keepsakes, items that had belonged to him and his friend Tom. His fingers brushed over a photograph of the two of them, young and smiling, the innocence of those days shining through the years. Tears welled up in his eyes as memories flooded back, moments of laughter, fear, and brotherhood. Then, tucked beneath the photos, he found an envelope addressed to him in familiar handwriting. His hands shook as he broke the seal and unfolded the letter inside. It was from Tom, a letter written during the war but never sent. The words were raw and honest, filled with regret and hope. As he read, the veteran's expression shifted. The letter revealed something he never knew. A secret promise Tom had made, a hope for the future that had been buried beneath the chaos of war. Tom had written about a hidden message, a plan to reconnect after the fighting ended, something that might have changed everything if only it had reached him. The weight of the letter settled over him, mixing pain with a strange sense of relief. He had spent years carrying the burden of loss and unanswered questions. Now, for the first time, he understood a part of the story he hadn't known, the silent bond that had tied them together, even when separated by distance and death. Piece by piece, memories began to fall into place. The letter brought back forgotten moments and gave new meaning to old promises. The veteran sat back, tears streaming down his face, his hands still trembling, clutching the letter like a lifeline. In that quiet back room, surrounded by the echoes of the past, he found not only a connection to his lost friend, but a sense of peace he hadn't thought possible. The things he had thought were gone forever had returned, bringing with them hope and healing in the most unexpected way. He unfolded the letter slowly, the paper worn but still sturdy, like a fragile bridge between past and present. His voice was soft, trembling at first, but steadying as he began to read aloud. "My dear friend," the letter began. "If you are reading this, then I hope it has somehow found its way to you. I've carried these words in my heart for so long, afraid that they might never reach you. There are things I need to say, things I never had the courage to speak face to face." He paused, swallowing hard. I could see the weight of those words settle deep inside him. The letter spoke of friendship, a bond forged in the harshest of places. It carried regrets for moments lost, for promises broken in the chaos of war. But amid the sorrow, there was hope. Hope for forgiveness, for healing, and for the chance to find peace even after everything that had happened. As he read, memories flooded back, some he had buried deep, too painful to face until now. I saw the flicker of moments where fear had threatened to overwhelm him, but also flashes of bravery, times when he had stood strong, not just for himself but for the brother who had written these words. He whispered the last lines, his voice thick with emotion. "Know that you were never alone, and that I have always carried your spirit with me. I hope one day you can forgive me for the silence that grew between us." When he finished, he folded the letter carefully, his hands no longer trembling. There was a peace in his eyes I hadn't seen before, as if a long-held burden had finally lifted. The truth once hidden had given him something priceless: closure. I watched him look around the room one last time, a quiet gratitude shining in his gaze. He turned to the clerk, the woman who had guided him here, and said with a gentle smile, "Thank you. I don't know how you knew, but you gave me more than I ever expected." She smiled back, her eyes warm but carrying a hint of something more, something mysterious, like a secret she'd been guarding. "Sometimes," she said softly, "the past finds a way to reach us when we need it most." As he left the thrift store, I couldn't help but wonder about her, who she really was and how she came to hold these pieces of history. Was she simply a keeper of forgotten things or something more? The thought lingered, adding a layer of mystery to a day already filled with unexpected discoveries. But what mattered most was the man walking away with a lighter heart, a heart healed by memory, forgiveness, and the quiet power of a letter that bridged a lifetime. Sometimes the greatest journeys are the ones that lead us back home, even when we think that home is lost forever. That day at the thrift store changed everything for him. What began as a quiet search for a lost piece of the past became a journey of healing and understanding. The letter, the memories, and the unexpected kindness he found all came together to lift a weight he had carried for decades. I watched him walk away with a lighter step, his shoulders less burdened, as if the past had finally given him permission to let go. Sometimes the past finds us when we least expect it, hidden in a dusty corner, tucked inside an old box, or whispered through the words of a stranger. It reminds us that what we thought was lost may still be waiting, ready to heal parts of us we didn't even know were broken. He was a man changed by one unexpected discovery, a man who came looking for memories but found something much deeper: peace. It's a powerful reminder that even in our darkest moments hope can shine through, often from the most surprising places. And sometimes all it takes is the kindness of strangers, those who listen, who guide us gently, who hold pieces of the past safe until we're ready to find them again. His story is a quiet testament to the strength of memory, the power of forgiveness, and the unexpected gifts life can give us when we're willing to look. If this story touched you, if it made you think about your own memories or the people who've helped you along the way, I hope you'll hold on to that feeling. Thank you for listening. If this story moved you, please take a moment to like and share it with others who might find comfort or hope in it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever found something unexpected that changed how you see your past, or has a memory come back to you when you least expected it? Please leave your stories and feelings in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that touch the heart and remind us all of the power of kindness and connection. Thank you for being here and sharing this journey with me.